Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Richmond Redevelopment Commission of September 16th, 2025. We have a long agenda today, so we have a number of things to talk about. Let's start by calling the roll, please.
Michael Bloom.
Here.
Jenny Lahman.
Here.
Kathy Lucid.
Here.
Nicole Stultz.
Here.
Gary Turner. Allison Zeidel.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you very much, Beth. First item on our agenda today is the approval of our minutes from our meeting of July the 15th, 2025. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes, and are there any changes or additions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom.
Aye.
Jenny Lahman.
Aye.
Kathy Lucid.
Aye.
Allison Zeidel.
Aye.
4 in favor.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is a review of our financials. Beth, would you please take us through?
Sure. When you look at allocation area 1, which is our first sheet, we do have one item to deobligate, and that is Loop Phase 2, the Plaza. You'll see that we have $26,299.17 remaining there. In going through that project and looking at the needs, it was determined that the contract and the scope of work that we had funded for that project was not going to get us the outcome that we were looking for. So the decision was made mutually with the provider that we would cancel that contract and do another request for proposals for that project. And as a reminder, this is that area under the new US 27 bridge. It is paved in, but we would be moving to make that more of a gathering space with design.
So Beth, did we get something out of the money we spent?
We did, yes. We had some original survey and some original utility work.
Great, thank you.
So in looking at that, that gives us a total of $3,110,129.79 for new projects.
Let's go ahead and take a vote on that deobligation.
Absolutely.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom.
Aye.
Jenny Lahman.
Aye.
Kathy Lucid.
Aye.
Allison Zeidel.
Aye.
4 in favor.
I have a quick housekeeping. Is there any way that the documents can be loaded so that they are horizontal instead of, so that we're not twisting our devices, so to speak? Is that possible?
For the financials?
Yeah, for the financials.
We will have to look and see, because I know doing it this way makes it too small to read.
Okay.
But there may be a way with converting, because it should be able,
Well, Jenny taught me how to rotate them. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to do it
Just on
either.
your.
Yeah.
You
On
did.
your
It's
iPad.
on
You
an
just rotate.
iPad. I don't know on a phone if it does it.
Yeah, maybe not on a phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you gotta flip it
That's just
again.
something
Rotate
I've thought
mine.
several times. and
sure, we will,
Allison's going like
I always
this,
go
and
like
I'm
this.
going like that.
Yes.
Or you just print those pages
Yeah.
and you move on,
That's old.
which is what I did, I know, old school.
absolutely. Oh,
No problem.
sure, no worries.
Beth, also on Project 3, 2023, Project Thomas, that looks like our obligation has been met there, and the project is closed. Can we go ahead and remove that in the future on our statements, since that's closed?
Correct, yes. I will remove that from the next statement.
And that does not require any vote because it's already closed.
No. The reason that I had it still on there was because we did make that payment in 2025, but I am happy to remove that. I can also do the same with the Wayne County
Yeah.
6 Main
Main.
Yep,
at the bottom.
sounds good.
Anything else for allocation area 1? Looking at the Certified Technology Park, we are still waiting for guidance from the state of Indiana. So at this point, we have $2,034,731.21 remaining in that fund. You'll see that on Resolution 9, 2020, the Wi-Fi upgrades for Elstro Plaza, that project has been completed. The Parks Department had not received an invoice for that yet. President Lucid has had some conversations with RP&L, and they are showing that that has been paid. So we are tracking that down to see if perhaps it was paid from another fund, and we would need to use our funding to reimburse.
Okay. Do we have any kind of timeline from the state? Or have you told us that already and I've forgotten?
We do not have a timeline from the state. With the Johns Manville allocation area, at this time, we have $1,809,372.55 available for new projects. We have the project that was added from the last meeting, Resolution 9, 2025 for Richmond Community Schools has been added there, and the amount remaining that is earmarked for Richmond Community Schools project is now $90,000 that is still available and remaining in the Johns Manville Fund.
Can I ask a quick question about that one?
Absolutely.
Actually, Nicole, do you know when they will, we had talked to them about if they needed to come back. We didn't want them kind of, like muscling their way through it if they needed to come back. Do you know when they will see signs of whether this is working or not?
So as far as the Ivy Tech partnership, so it's already, we've already filled the positions.
Okay.
So that's a yes, it's working.
Okay.
There's interest and there's already partnership there. So that's exciting. And then basically, from what I understand, what we allocated will serve for 2 years, so we kind of have that in place. And then what I'm guessing is at the end of this school year, we will reassess, reevaluate, see, okay, is this working well? And then it may be that we decide we want to up the offering, because right now there are only, X amount of spots. And so it could be that RCS is like, hey, let's offer more spots, at which point they may be coming before us and saying, can you fund this? So does that
So
answer your question?
just no expected hiccups yet.
Oh, no.
Okay,
no.
great.
Everything's like
That's great.
high fives all around at this
Fabulous.
point.
Okay.
And lots of excitement. But there's no, we're like a month into the
Yeah,
school year, so
right.
there's nothing to report yet. But
Okay. Awesome.
Will they be reporting back to us? Do you know? Were they
That's a good
planning on?
question. I
It'd be
don't know.
nice.
We can
just,
request
or
that.
You
Yeah.
can, or someone.
Yeah.
We just need to get it on the agenda.
Because it's good to hear progress reports.
Sure.
And hear how things are going. So, yeah.
That'd be great.
That would be wonderful, because
Yes.
often, you spend money and you don't always hear if it was
Yep.
successful or not.
Right.
I'll be showing
Right.
up on a monthly basis.
Yeah, we'd
so.
like to get those follow-ups.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Nicole, if you could just bend your microphone a little bit, so I want to make sure everybody can hear you.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
And with the Heartland allocation area, we did not have any activity there. And as you remember, this is bond payments that we make that are based on the actual revenue that we received. As well as the Midwest Industrial Park, we did have one professional service fee that came in during the month. And again, this is the one where the funds transfer from allocation area 1 to the Midwest Industrial Park to cover those bond and fee payments. So as you recall, on our allocation area 1 at the bottom in the bond section, we have the TIF revenue bond of 2022 for the Midwest Industrial Park 3. So that is where that money is held until those payments are made by the finance department and transferred.
That's at the end of the year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I move for approval of the amended financials, please.
I'll second that.
We've had a motion and a second to approve the financials. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom,
Aye.
Jenny Lauman, Kathy Lucid,
Aye.
Allison Zeidel.
Aye.
4 in favor.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any old business to pick up at this point? Okay, good. Then let's move into our new business. a couple changes to the agenda so that we can do this as we move along. Resolution number 14, 2025 on your agenda, we're removing that for today. And resolution number 16, 2025, we are tabling for today. We are awaiting more information, and they'll be back with that at a later date. Okay, with those changes in place, let's move into our agenda, starting with Resolution 10, 2025, which is a resolution authorizing the appropriation and expenditure of funds for the Northwest 5th Street corridor for $174,000 coming from the Johns Manville allocation area.
Yes, thank you. There has been a lot of conversation in the community about the Northwest 5th Street corridor running all the way from I-70 to US 40, about ensuring that that is a safe corridor, that it is attractive. That is the entrance to our community that all of our Earlham students and their families see as they come through. This is a project that has been identified in the 2015 Transportation Master Plan, the 2011, 2016, 2019, and soon to be in the new 2025 Comprehensive Plan as a project that needs to be undertaken. This will be a very large project, not just because of the distance that we have to cover, but because of all of the utilities that are involved. There will be a lot of utility coordination in this project, as well as there will be right-of-way acquisition that will be needed for this project. And what we're asking for funding now is for Avenue to provide us with a revitalization study to help us understand what it is that we need to do, what those probable costs would be for that project, how we would potentially phase that project, and what are some different options that we have for funding that project. There would be conversations with stakeholders during this process, as well as with the commission and members of council, so that we can understand best what we would like this corridor to look like and how we would like it to function. Corey Daly is here from Avenue, and he is happy to answer any questions that you might have specific to the proposal that you have in front of you. We did meet with multiple companies as we were talking about this. We've been talking about this Northwest 5th Street corridor project for several years with several different individuals. Avenue has considerable experience with corridor studies and then with implementation plans and assisting with the funding of those projects. So I am happy to turn it over to the commission and invite Corey to the podium to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, Beth.
So again, you said this has been on the radar since, when did you say, 08?
2011.
11, and the reason we're just now at this point after 14 years is...
It's a really large project. It's going to be very expensive. It's probably going to be a 10 to 15 year project from start to finish. So I think there were a lot of stops and starts with how should we do it, and in working through those, having those conversations with Dustin as the planning director, TL as street commissioner, Matt Keller as public operations, it seemed like the best thing to do was let's bring the experts in, let's have a study, and let's see what is it that, maybe we've blown it up in our minds and it's not as hard as we think it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be easy, but we don't know that. And so we need their expertise to help us understand that.
And just so we understand the scope, we're talking about from I-70 to Route 40 to Main Street. So it's that entire
3.25 miles or whatever.
entire length.
That's correct.
And can I ask one more question before we?
Sure.
Has there been any other studies done since it's been in all of these plans? Has there been any?
Not that I've been able to locate.
Okay. So this would be the first. Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm here for questions if you have any or any clarification that you might need on the proposal that you have before you. So,
Can you just give us a quick overview of your approach on this?
Yeah, so we're going to do a stakeholder-driven approach, primarily with representatives from the city, representatives from the college, and then business owners and people along the corridor. So because it is a corridor study, we're going to keep that contained to the corridor and understand what those needs are for the people that actually reside and/or exist along the corridor, and then the key stakeholders in the community. It's going to be a series of meetings, if you will, with that group of people that are selected by you all to be able to kind of vet through the process, starting with big ideas and bringing it down to, like Beth mentioned, cost estimates, phasing, and all of that, so you have a really clear understanding of what it's going to take to implement that vision. So,
How long do you anticipate that process would take?
our goal, if we are approved today, is to get started immediately and be done by first quarter of next year. I think we had it March in our proposal.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Knowing that that could flex a little bit either way, depending on how progress is made, but our goal would be to adhere to that schedule so you can move into the next phases more quickly. So,
And then we have the summary of the deliverables, but can you talk about exactly what the community would get for what we're investing?
yeah, this is really going to be a plan. I'm sure you've seen, it sounds like you've seen many, many plans, but what this is going to show is it's really going to kind of convey what the improvements need to look like. So I call that the vision piece of it. It's what's the character of the roadway corridor? What are the main constraints that you have to deal with? You're going to see cost estimating in this. It's high-level cost estimating, study-level cost estimating, phasing. The end result is going to basically be mapping and I'd say executive summary level. So it's not going to be 2 to 3 pages. It's probably going to be 15 to 20 pages, but it's going to be brief to say, hey, this is what we want it to look like. This was a little bit of the process we followed, but really, here's the next steps that are recommended. So you will have a document at the end of this that you can turn back to and start to make actual plans for construction and other things that you may want to do with the corridor. Funding, I know we've already discussed, is going to be a big piece, so we'll kind of guide you through some of those options too as we go along. So all of that will be covered in the final document.
But it would still be a higher level, and we wouldn't receive construction plans.
This is not an engineering plan at this point. It's really to lead to scoping for something at that level. Engineering studies in our world are detailed studies. That's where you would have detailed utility coordination and all those things, but you don't even know yet how to even scope that feasibly. So this is really to get you to that point, so you can understand what all the stakeholders want to see, how the road can function in the future for the community, and then also what some of those key things are to look at for scoping. We've had a lot of experience with putting this kind of work together, so we'll be able to help you with some realistic cost estimates for that and really the phasing and what to look for.
Based on your experience with these kind of corridor projects, what's been the business owners' participation in these things? I can see some going, it's silly, not participating at all, but what's been your experience?
It varies from community to community, obviously, and corridor to corridor. Normally, we try to have them as engaged as they want to be. A lot of times, business owners, especially small business owners, are too busy to participate. What we like to do is try to get a representative of the business community on the committee. In this case, it's going to be a steering committee, so it'll be a little bit smaller group. I think a lot of times what we find is when these things start and they're in process, you'll start to get some calls. Our goal when that happens is to actually reach out and contact those people on your behalf or with you to hear them out. So it's hard to predict right now. I know that's kind of a fluffy answer. It's hard to predict how they're going to be there. The goal would be to have people from the business community engaged in the steering committee and people that can represent that community. So.
Well, the reason I ask is because it's their properties that are going to be the most
Yes.
heavily impacted.
Yeah, yeah, especially if there's right-of-way concerns and things like that that are discovered as we go along through the study process. So, yeah, I'm very aware of that, and we'll help you.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, we'll definitely-
I assume you've been there before.
Yeah, we're here to partner with you and help you through that as it comes up. So, hopefully it's positive, that's.
I like that you have that stakeholder coordination piece. I want to make sure that we're clear on who is responsible for seeking out those people. There's a heavy Spanish-speaking population in that corridor, especially with business owners. And I think we've all been, not necessarily burned, but we've all had struggles in the past where people were not consulted. Maybe they had the opportunity to, but they weren't sought out. It wasn't just an open call for a meeting. It was, we have to have your coordination and your responses. I feel like we kind of need to go get people. So that we don't have that 3 year from now, nobody asked me, my property's, being disrupted, you're killing this business. I'd like to be able to say that it wasn't just on paper, that we really did seek out a lot of help and a lot of input. So I just would love clarity on to ensure that whether you all are doing that, whether we're doing that, whether we're as a team, what have you. And you kind of alluded to us doing that as a team, but.
Yeah, primarily, I would expect the city to be responsible for getting the committee together with consultation from us. We'll make sure that that happens. I've even written this down here, so we know that that's a focus, and we can make sure and just test that that's actually occurring. So, yeah, thank you.
How many people from your organization will be involved in this?
We will have some people helping us from other companies, probably. So we'll have an engineering consultant that'll kind of be working in the background. On our team, we'll have at least 3 to 4 people. We all have different skill sets. I'm more on the public side of things. I help with the visioning studies and things like that. We've got engineers on our team that will be involved. We've got construction managers on the team that will be involved with the cost estimating. So all in all, you'll probably see at least 4 or 5 of us. Myself, along with at least one other person from our team, will be the primary people that you'll be dealing with on a day-to-day basis, though. So,
Beth?
And if I may, Dustin Purvis, Planning Director for the City of Richmond, he will be the lead on this project from the city side.
Very good. Thank you. Beth, what was the process that we went through to invite Avenue to do this study for us?
So we have had conversations over the last 5 to 8 years, probably, with multiple companies and firms that are able to do this work, and in looking at the projects and the expertise that were brought forth to the table, Avenue rose to the top for that process.
Where are you located?
our headquarters is Indianapolis.
It is Indy. I was
Yes.
looking on the proposal
Yeah.
and I didn't see that. So.
Yeah.
Their address is on the bottom of page 13.
Yeah, we're on
12.
Sennett
12.
Avenue, very close to the canal and the IU Indy campus, if you're aware of that area. The Stutz Building is another kind of landmark building in our area, so.
Good. Do we have any further questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so
Corey.
much.
Beth, can we go so far as to put some stipulations on our end of helping with Dustin's coordination to involve amigos and things like that to ensure that we have adequate translation, that we have adequate participation? I'm just especially concerned about the fact that we have a lot of businesses on there, and many of them are owned by non-native speakers. I want to make sure we're paying attention to that,
Good idea.
if possible.
Excellent. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
For approval,
For approval.
yes, okay. Second,
A motion has been made and seconded for approval. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom,
aye.
Jenny Lauman,
Aye.
Kathy Lucid,
Aye.
Allison Zeidel.
Aye.
4 in favor.
Excellent. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is Resolution Number 11, 2025. This is a resolution authorizing the appropriation and expenditure of funds, Depot District Gateway intersection of $153,100 coming from the Johns Manville allocation area. Beth, will you speak to this one?
Absolutely. So this project is the intersection that has a lot of different nicknames, but we will just go with the fact that it is North D Street, North 6th, North 7th, and Fort Wayne Avenue. That intersection that we have there.
We've all tried to travel through on
Yeah.
many occasions.
That has can present some challenges at some times. So this project is to allow us to survey, study, and redesign that intersection so that it's more efficient, as well as connect that intersection directly to the North D Street
Greenway.
Cardinal Greenway. So we know there are a lot of opportunities to pull people off of the Cardinal Greenway to get them to the Depot District, to get them downtown. And we hear from riders and families that they don't feel that there's a really safe way for them to traverse from the Greenway to the Depot District. So this study will address that. It will also address the fact that all of our ramps in that area are not currently they are ADA accessible, but not to the current standards. So this would ensure those standards changed just recently. So I know if you'll recall on US 40, they came in and they did all of the ramps, and then the very next year they redid them because the standard changed, and so therefore they had to go back and change that work. So this is going to allow us to bring that current, as well as all of the lighting and the signals that are in that area are at the end of life and are needed to be upgraded as well. So this proposal, when you look at what we're funding for this proposal, there are only 4 tasks. There are multiple tasks that have been presented in this proposal, and at this time, we're only looking at funding tasks 1 through 4. So this is the survey of the area, the design, the utility coordination, and the preparation of bid documents. So with this project, a difference between this one and the first project that was approved is at the end of this project, we will have bid documents that we can put out to bid and go ahead and construct the project. The last 2 tasks with the construction phasing services and construction inspection, those are things that will move forward when we go to bid the project. So those 2 items are not included in this total. So the 153,100 that you have, that is the total of tasks 1 through 4. The reason that Clark Dietz was selected for this project is because they have been instrumental in the work with the city over the last 10 years with the Cardinal Greenway Trail Connector, with the Loop project, with the work at the US 27 bridge. So they are very familiar with this project and will be able to come in and not have that learning curve that another company would have because they've already been involved in the community. They already have connections with the stakeholder groups. So we feel that they would be the best company to move this process forward. And Jake Phillips is here from Clark Dietz, and he is happy to take any questions or answer anything that you would like to know about the project.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Again, if you can just give us a brief overview of the project and your approach to it, that would be great.
Absolutely. So as is mentioned, and you're all well aware, it's a unique intersection with 5 streets connecting, and one, I guess 6th Street is right there as well, confusing the situation. And so, as was mentioned, it would be a project to kind of clean up that intersection a little bit, make it more accessible. Unfortunately, maybe I shouldn't say unfortunately, the standards with ADA ramps is an ongoing challenge with every community, and so that would be addressed during this as well, making that compliant with the current standard. Things like upgrading the lights, even when we were walking through the intersection a month or so ago, I realized how difficult it is to see, even as a pedestrian standing there, it's difficult to see some of those lights, whether they're red or green. So obviously bringing those up to standards with LEDs is going to make it much, not only safer, but just more functional for the community constituents and the people, that are operating businesses in the area. And then the extra component of connecting the Cardinal Greenway is a great idea. Was not one that was originally part of the project, but it makes sense to connect that roughly quarter mile to allow people to access the great effort that you're putting into downtown to connecting to the Greenway. In fact, when we were actually out walking that project, trying to figure out where that trail might go, we saw several people on bikes zipping through there, and you could tell they all have developed their own kind of routes, and that may still happen, but channelizing it and making it safer and marking it for them is ultimately a good thing for anybody who uses the trail, as well as inviting more people to use it and feel safer about it.
How long do you anticipate the study taking?
So we plan on 6 months is our rough development time from the time we get notice to proceed to having construction documents for you. And as I was mentioned, unlike the study, it's actually will be a full set of plans that you would use to go to construction with. So our schedule right now is roughly 6 months from the time we get the green light to the time we have documents ready. Obviously, there are things that could delay that as far as decisions that need to be made or things that come up, but generally speaking, 6 months is a pretty safe timeline.
And you'll be engaging businesses in that area also?
I don't believe there's any required public involvement, but obviously we have connections already, and some of that will be as we develop the project based on getting a feel from the people we interact with. If that needs to, some of that will just dictate what that looks like as we go through the process.
Beth, tell me in the write-up why we're just doing the first 4 and why were they all 8 in the write-up instead of why was this not amended?
We have determined that we wanted to get through the bid documents and understand what that cost is, because once those bid documents come in and that estimated cost, this may be something we can do right away, or it may be something that we can't do for a couple of years based on funding. So rather than going ahead and making that commitment to construction inspection, which actually occurs during the construction of the project, we're holding those 2 items because they will be construction related. So we're just doing the first 4 tasks
Right.
through the bid documents.
But why were all 8 of them included in the write-up?
Because that is the total project. So those are other pieces of the project that would be needed in order to actually build it and see it through.
Okay.
And Beth, I'm very visual. Can you tell me what anticipated changes we would see there, other than I understand the ADA, the curbs, but what visually would we see? What would be the difference when we're done? Or do we know?
We don't know yet, but more than likely it would be the location of the light poles, the location of the pedestrian crossings, the location of where it ends up being determined that multimodal trail would connect to the Cardinal Greenway. That little island that's there, maybe that comes out.
Okay.
There could be a lot of different changes that we won't know until they actually go in and do the surveys and actually look and see what could potentially happen in the area.
Okay.
Does this account for signage that might be necessary to get people from that point to the Cardinal Greenway as well?
Those would be called out in the bid documents.
Okay. Thanks.
And then in the fee summary breakout, task 5 and 6, those are not part of this ask.
Correct.
And who's going to pay those billing rates or those estimated costs? Is that this?
It will depend on the funding source, because potentially if we end up using federal highway funds that come through NDOT to local public agencies, construction inspection is an eligible expense, an eligible use of those funds. So it could potentially be covered by that. There could be some other grant funding or other funds that we could access for trail development that might pay a portion of that. So at this point, that's still an unknown.
And the reason then why weren't we asked, I'm not willing to spend more money, but why were we not, why didn't you just come to us for the entire amount?
Because at this point, I don't know how we'll fund it. So I didn't want you to obligate something on your books that we may not need to have. So
I feel pretty confident that it'll come from someplace else.
Well, we don't know the exact amount yet either,
correct.
because we haven't seen the final design.
But these guesstimates, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because you'll see those were estimates, and those are billed at their rates, and that could change based on, right now, they're basing it on their 25, 26 rates. Well, if we don't bill till 28, those rates are going to be different.
Who approves the final design when you're done?
The administration.
Okay. It does not come back to us, it goes to the administration. Other questions?
I move for approval of the resolution.
I have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second that, please.
Motion's been made and seconded. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom,
Aye.
Jenny Lauman,
Aye.
Kathy Lucid,
Aye.
Allison Zeidel.
Aye.
4 in favor.
Thank you very much, motion passes. And thank you very much for your time and presentation. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 12, 2025. It's a resolution authorizing the appropriation and expenditure of funds, improvements to roadways within the redevelopment area for a street sweeper for $297,470 coming from allocation area number 1. And I believe TL is going to speak to this.
I'll try. T.O. Bozell, Richmond Street Commissioner. Dear Commission members, the Street Department is asking for consideration and funding to purchase a global M3 street sweeper at a cost of $297,470. This will replace one of the street sweepers that was purchased in 2017 and dedicated for the Tift area in downtown. And I'll ask any questions or answer any questions.
2017, we approved it, right? Is that the normal life for a street?
Yes, there's 1,000 moving parts in a street sweeper, and we've spent probably $20,000 in upkeep on the 2 we have right now. So yeah, and I'd kind of hold off a couple more years, but they're quoting a 20% increase coming up in the near future, so.
So the one that we purchased in 2017, that will come out of service completely?
Yes,
When
yes,
this one
we'll
is-
try to trade that in.
Oh, you traded in?
Yes.
Okay. And that's taken into consideration in the two?
Not at this time, no. We're just not sure until we get a bid going. But then that can come off the total price at the time, and your price may not be as much as $297,000.
So that
What
would
are you
give
in?
you 2 full-time
Yeah,
street
we're
sweepers.
going to try to replace one ourselves, and we're asking the commission to help us replace another one. So, in the Tift area in downtown.
Do you have any idea, close estimate of what a trade-in value on the old equipment would be?
I'd say
Like
25,000.
20,000 or
25,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that could come off that 297.
Yeah.
Did we approve a mini sweeper to go on the bike trail and sidewalks couple years ago?
Yeah.
Is that with
On the
Parks
toolkit.
Department, or is that with you all?
There is one at the Parks Department, and
Okay.
we also
And you have one as well?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
and I'm
That
not sure.
probably doesn't even matter. I don't know. I read it, but I was
Not
just
sure
trying to
which one
think of timing.
you guys approved and which one we bought ourselves.
Okay, yeah, all right.
It's been a while. But we have approved one in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The sweeper that TL referenced that is being replaced, that was purchased in 2017, was purchased by the Redevelopment Commission.
So we have precedent. Any other questions for TL?
Do you have a heads up on when the 20% increase is going to happen? Do you think that's a next year? Is it a
Next
tariff
year,
thing? Is
yeah.
it a
First of next year, they're
first of
saying.
next year?
Yes.
So this is a pressing matter. Okay. Okay.
Who do you get to repair that? If you said there were a lot of moving parts, is that?
We do most of our repairs in-house, but we do have Browns from Fort Wayne come down, and they come in and service it when we need. When we can't fix it ourselves, they'll come in and help us. So,
And that's the company that,
yeah, Brown Equipment Company. Yeah. And I have the flyer here if anybody wants to see if you haven't seen it. in
Yeah, we
action.
have a
Yeah.
copy in our package.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for TL? Thank you.
Thanks.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Would you call the vote?
Michael Bloom,
Aye.
Jenny Lauman,
Aye.
Kathy Lucid,
Aye.
Allison Zeidel,
Aye.
4 in favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving right along on our agenda. It's Resolution number 13, 2025. This is a resolution authorizing the appropriation and expenditure of funds, improvements to roadways within the redevelopment area, CCMG 2026-1 for $289,088 coming from the Johns Manville allocation area. And I think TL's back.
So, dear commission members, I'm asking the Redevelopment Commission for funding for 3 projects for milling and paving: Richmond Avenue, Sheridan to Northwest 9th, Peacock to from Northwest 13th to Salisbury, and Indiana Avenue from Northwest 5th to Northwest 13th at a total cost of $578,176. Community Crossings opens October 1st and closes October 31st. One of the criteria for the grant is to have funding in place when applying for the grant.
Say those dates again, TL, I'm sorry.
October 1st through October 31st.
Okay, thank
They'll
you.
give us a month to get everything in line and,
With a 50% match is what we're
yes.
looking at.
Yeah.
And we have a good track record with community. I know that we match them all the time, but we tend to get those grants when we apply for them, right?
We have, I don't know, TL, do you want to speak to the changes?
So there were a lot of changes, House bill, can't think of what it was now, but the one with the wheel tax involved in it, they went from $350 million to $100 million for all communities and all counties in the
Cool.
state.
Cool.
So
Okay.
we will be fighting with a lot of other communities on funding, so.
Yeah, and to your point, Allison, TL has a 100% success rate. Every application that he has submitted for community crossings has been fully funded.
Nice job.
So far.
Putting that out in the universe.
You shouldn't have.
Thanks a lot, Beth.
And the roads that have been selected here are the ones that we've gone through this normal evaluation process and rank
Yes.
which ones are the
Yeah,
most
on our
critical.
asset plan, we run a PASER plan that the state recommends, and so we'll go out, rate the roads, and it has to be submitted with the application and the grant,
So
so,
we're ticking off the top 3 here.
yep.
And if I remember correctly, these are fairly quick improvements. These don't take
No, yeah,
lots of time.
yeah, they're
Right.
working on our community crossings for this year right now, so,
Okay,
so it'll be a 2-week, this one, Milestone said 2 weeks will probably be,
2 weeks is.
Yeah.
So it's not too
Okay.
disruptive to
Yeah,
the communities
right.
that are involved.
And this is funded through the Johns Manville Fund, so it needs to be used for the properties that are adjacent to the Manville.
Correct.
properties. Okay.
Right.
And so that's why we're seeking that, okay.
And I think we are at roughly 616,000 just today of the 1.8 million. Do we foresee much more coming at us before the end of the year
No,
for Johns Manville?
not for Johns
Allocation?
Manville, no.
Okay.
And then when does that Johns Manville, more money's coming into that to fill up that fund?
So we have in our financials estimates what we will receive, the revenue that we would receive through the end of this year. Johns Manville typically makes one payment each year in May. So it will be May of 2026 when we will see additional funds.
And those were estimated in the meeting with Baker Tilly, right?
Yes.
I need to look back at that.
Okay, thank you.
It should be around just a little over $600,000.
Other questions? Not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Would you call the vote, please?
Michael Bloom,
Aye.
Jenny Lauman,
Aye.
Kathy Lucid,
Aye.
Allison Zeidel,
Aye.
4 in favor.
Beth, could you keep us updated on the community crossings grant of whether we get that or not?
Yes, it will be the first step was coming to get match here to go with the match TL has in his fund, and then it will go to council in October through 2 readings to get permission to apply for the funding.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you again, TL. Okay, as I mentioned before, Resolution 14, 2025, we're removing at this point. So we are moving on to Resolution 15, 2025, which is a resolution authorizing the appropriation and expenditure of funds for the Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church and Community Center, known as the Reed Center, for $500,000 from allocation Area 1. And I believe we have speakers.
And Kathy, I have a conflict of interest here, so I won't be asking questions or voting on this one.
Okay, so
I will
noted that
abstain.
Allison is recusing.
Using PowerPoint, so I need to set that up here.
And if you could state your name for the minutes, please, so that Messia can accurately reflect that in our minutes.
It's an ongoing challenge to make that work right the first time. We've all been there.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi,
Thank
Ann.
you for having us, and good afternoon to everyone else. I'm Ann Fenimore, the treasurer of the Reed Center, and we are thrilled to have this opportunity to share with all of you why the Reed Center's Life and Safety Project fits into Richmond's comprehensive plan by addressing the rich architectural and music history found here in Richmond, why it fits into the downtown plan for revitalization by improving the quality of life downtown, and why it also fits into Earlham's plan for their Lilly Grant money by collaborating with Earlham and having events that target specifically their students and their faculty. The Reed Center fits into everything that's happening in our community. As an anchor to the Star Historic District, the Reed Center further supports the progress and redevelopment that's already taken place in that district. By providing the art and cultural programs, we help our community thrive. The Reed Center has already shown that we've improved the quality of life in that area. As a successful performing arts center, the Reed Center is committed to collaboration with the other arts programs that we've had in the community for years. We share events with the Richmond Symphony Orchestra, the Richmond Civic Theater, Nettle Creek Players, Star Jeanette, Earlham, and IU East. Since before COVID, we have been working on this whole project, and we have thrived from donations from our community support, local and regional grants, event revenue, and fundraisers. The Reed Center fosters a sense of community as we have held weddings, celebration of lives, family reunions, conferences, and tours, bringing visitors in from all the states across the board. And we add and support everything that's right here in Richmond. See if this works. Ha-ha. Okay, we are not just an old church that's been around since 1906. We are not just a church that lost its congregation in 2017, or a building that was put on Indiana Landmark's 10 most endangered buildings. We are not just a building that was donated by one of Richmond's most wealthy individuals Daniel Reed, who became the Tin Plate King. We are not just a building that houses a beautiful pipe organ. We are not just a building that houses a star piano that comes to us from 1905. We are not just an event center, but we did hold the first candlelight concert in Richmond. We are not just the house that stands for the Indiana landmarks now. They moved in with us a couple years ago, and we house their East Indiana regional office. What Reed Center is Reed Center is actually a national treasure found right here in Richmond. And to address that topic, I'd like to introduce Fred Chatfield to tell you more about why we are a national treasure.
Good afternoon. My name is Fred Chatfield. I've met a number of you, I know. I played Nicole Sauter's wedding. I'm a member of the Reed Center Executive Committee and an artistic director of the Noonday Series and the Christmas at Reed Center event, as well as a performer there on organ, as I will be doing tomorrow at noon, bringing some sopranos over from Dayton. In 2016, I retired from a 50-year vocation in sacred music. Since 2021, I've been privileged to share with audiences and tour groups the artistry that we find at Reed Center, the famous Tiffany windows, as well as the lesser-known vintage Hook and Hastings organ and the star piano. My credentials include degrees from New England Conservatory and Yale University, both in organ performance and sacred music. Reed Center is indeed a national treasure. It's an amazing gift bestowed upon a Richmond congregation by one of the wealthiest men in the country in memory of his parents. Where most such memorials tend to be a stained glass window or a church furnishing of some type, Daniel Reed bestowed an entire church edifice, everything, inside and out. He could afford to hire the very best in the world, and he did. I doubt he realized it at the time, but he gave us a national treasure. I was going to ask if there's anybody that's never been inside, but as I look at this group, I recognize that you've all been there. But I've seen many people enter this. I'm going to speak about the auditorium. I've seen many people enter this space for the first time, and I was one of them in February of 2020, just before the pandemic shut down. And I felt immediately that I was in a spectacular time capsule looking at amazing beauty. In the auditorium, we were surrounded by an extraordinary abundance of world-class artistry. And it came as a unified whole, which means that it didn't come over decades. It all came at once. And that's an important part of what makes it a national treasure, because what we're looking at is artistic genius from one of the great and well-known decorating firms of our country, Tiffany Studios. They did not just do the windows, they also did the entire interior detailing. The other thing that we find at Tiffany or at Reed Center is what we call art in situ. In the location it was intended to be experienced. That's something that museums don't get to do. They get pieces of art. And I heard something about this just last week. Sue King and I hosted 50 Ohioans who came and visited various places in Richmond, including Reed Center. And we got this lovely note from Dan, their director, the next day. And he said, we just loved the Reed Center. It was our favorite stop. And he says, we were blown away by the Tiffany windows. But what he said a little bit later blew me away. He said, I've been to the Morse Museum in Winter Park, Florida. That's recognized as the world's leading collection of Tiffany art glass. And he said, I saw nothing there to compare with what I see at Reed Center. And that's the power of in situ. You get to see the whole concept as it was expected, not just a piece behind a display. We'll take a quick little tour. This window on the south wall, it's called the memorial window. It is related in design to all the other windows. They are basically 20 feet across, 30 feet wide. Any one of them would be a major installation in a church anywhere. To have so many of them in one place is extremely rare. I know that Tiffany Company over about 40 years installed about 5,000 stained glass windows. I suspect that we could count on our two hands and have extra fingers left. How many buildings have only Tiffany windows? This window, called the memorial window, has some of the boldest glass color that is in the entire facility. It's a type of glass that Tiffany called fabrial. That's a term he made up. It basically means handmade or in small batches. I know that I've been calling this world-class artistry, and I want you to know that that's not just a toss-off title, like the world's largest fireworks store. World-class recognition was given Tiffany in his own lifetime. And two notable occasions. In 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair, he had an exhibit there that displayed, while they were still a fairly young company, what they could do when it came to church interiors and stained glass. And he walked away from that with a suitcase full of awards, 40-plus awards, and it put him on the map as one of the leading church decorators and stained glass producers in the country. 7 years later, he was in Paris for another World's Fair. In Paris, Tiffany Studios got the grand prize in art glass, first place, blue ribbon, gold medal. He was awarded personally the coveted Chevalier Legion of Honor medal, the highest award for merit France can give an individual. So yes, he was indeed leading a world-class enterprise. This window shows Jesus and the apostles, or the gospel writers. Sue points out when she gives her tours that that beautiful yellow that you see surrounding Jesus is a bright glowing yellow no matter what the weather, the clouds cover, it just never dims. That's because Tiffany, with the artistic direction of Arthur Nash, he was the guy that ran the Tiffany furnaces, was able to produce glass that of the type we had never seen before. Not just a range of colors, but an iridescent quality, which is what's being used in that particular place. Across the room, we see on the north window this extraordinary depiction of the first Easter. We were inside the tomb looking out. I like to think that yellow that was surrounding Jesus on the other side has now gone out into the world. It represents the new dawn that you see behind these figures. There we go. In the great room, we have this depiction of Jesus in the temple. Here I'm going to use this as a way that we can take note of some of the achievements that Tiffany did that advanced the ability to depict art in the medium of glass. It was important to him that things like the folds in clothing and the robes would be in the glass itself, not painted onto it. He was a leader in that area, and we see that present in this. This particular window I've seen also in a church in Connecticut. Interestingly, they say that the original dates back to 1905. That's this window. The ceilings are in the style of English Gothic. They are extremely ornate. And what I think about when I look at these ceilings is, I know that we have a famous name in Tiffany, and he's a headliner for sure. And also the Oregon company of Hook and Hastings would have been likewise. But this building was also built by craftsmen on top of scaffolds. This kind of work here would have been, in my mind, done by Victorian tradesmen who lived at a time when what they did was not just a job, but it was a vocation. They would have apprenticed, and they would not have been allowed to do skilled work like this until they had developed the skills. I think I missed something. Yeah, I'll go back a little there. There we go. One of my personal favorites, what gets me through the door, actually every day, is this lovely instrument by Hook and Hastings. Wrapped in woodwork here, also designed by Tiffany. It uses medieval concepts. You can see those spires on top remind us of the finials that are on top of cathedrals. All of that rich wood carving you're looking at echoes the window tracery found elsewhere in the room. It's all part of that notion of having a unified whole. Letting you take a little peek inside the pipe room. That's you're looking at pipes that go back to 1906. This organ does have a vintage sound, and it's not a sound we hear a lot anymore. And the thing that impresses me is that it succeeds in really extraordinary ways to this very day. Hook and Hastings was hired because they were a leading firm at the time. There were only a few companies that could make an instrument of this size back in 1906. It was the early electrification of organ, pipe organ. Actually, it was the early electrification of Richmond. The utilities, RPL, started in 1902. Been through that one. I put this in because you can see the detail on this pew, the little rondelle that contains the four circles, and you can see that echoed in the windows behind it. We see this all around the room. In fact, you can't look anywhere and not see something beautiful. Included on the wood carving are what we call Art Nouveau touches, where Art Nouveau was a movement that Tiffany was very much a part of that embraced nature. They wanted to use natural elements. Berries we see here, leaves, vining tendrils, things like that. Coming back to that. There we go. Yep. This also on the left is showing us richly carved wood, and the wood in Tiffany is first growth mahogany and birch. And we see here again berries and leaves. And one of my favorite things to tell people when I have a tour group is that the Victorians like to decorate everything. And I say, be sure to look at the doorknobs on your way out. They are sculptures. And that's what you see there. Something that cannot be shown on slides, but I'm going to mention it, is that there is an acoustic in that room that is beloved by musicians. It has just the right ring and to have a music performance there. Now, we're going to revisit the Easter window for my conclusion. At this point, I want to read my comments because I want to go a bit deeper and I want to get this right. Here we see how Frederick Wilson, director of the ecclesiastical department of Tiffany Studios, depicted a particular moment. It's a moment when three women have arrived to anoint the body of Jesus, and they're caught by surprise. It's a moment which points beyond their original purpose to something new and unexpected. A moment when they first experience that the end is not the end. I look at this moment rendered exquisitely in stained glass and feel it speaks to those of us who are steering Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church into its next chapter as Reed Center, where the end is not the end. I know this committee is well acquainted with such moments. You know from your own work that something can be given a new life, places can be redeveloped. And so I invite you to join the great adventure of giving new life to this national treasure located right here in Richmond.
Thank you, Fred.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
I thought it would be cool if you could just take this and this booklet was done by one of the Reed heirs, and the page that I brought this to is just a sampling of, you've heard Fred talk about the Tiffany connection, and that embodies that entire building to include the stained glass and the interior. But this gives you an idea, just a sampling of the provenance that Reed Center has with regards to its documentation. Sue King, our Wayne County archivist and also a member of our exec committee, worked with the heir, Lee Brady, and created this booklet for her family when they found out that they were not aware, some of them, of Reed Center. And when they were made aware, she created this booklet as a loving gesture to her family and brought in all of the history, which is an incredibly rich history. Today, I serve as Reed Center's board president. But truly today, in this position, I am here as director for the Wayne County Tourism Bureau. As most of you know, when the Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church closed in 2017, Indiana Landmarks, as Ann stated earlier, recognized its vast importance as a historic architectural landmark and listed it not once but twice on Indiana's landmark top 10 endangered list in both 2018 and 2019. Indiana Landmarks felt so strongly in preserving this national treasure that they relocated their East Region offices to Reed Center. When the Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church closed, some of you may or may not be aware of this, the Reed heirs were working with the presbytery to decide what to do with the building. At that same time, the heirs were approached by a person in Texas who had established a stained glass museum. This person came up to Richmond, met with a few of the heirs, and also to visit Reed Center's Tiffany windows. And while there, offered to purchase 5 stained glass panels for several million dollars. When the church closed, the possible dismantlement of this amazing structure was a very real concern for community leaders, we being one of those. That someone would purchase some or all of these historic Tiffany stained glass windows and remove them from this majestic building, thus leaving a boarded up building in the middle of our downtown area. That would have been a travesty, not only for Reed Center, but also for the adjacent Star, Downtown, and Depot districts. Fortunately for Richmond, the heirs, nor the Whitewater Valley Presbytery, nor area community leaders wanted to see this historic building dismantled for its valuable Tiffany windows and other intrinsic artifacts. As you've heard today, Reed Center truly is a national treasure, both architecturally and culturally. This structure is absolutely one of the most historically rich and architecturally significant buildings in Richmond, in the state of Indiana, and we believe, from a tourism perspective, the nation. Reed Center is in the process of seeking out a Tiffany expert to document Reed Center's provenance as one-of-a-kind, fully embodied Tiffany jewel. We believe there is nothing like this fully intact Tiffany jewel in the state of Indiana, regionally and/or nationally, and hence why we want to have a Tiffany expert come in, look at all these vast documents that have been saved, and create that provenance that states that. From a tourism perspective, Reed Center is a national and even international visitor destination draw due to its Tiffany windows, but also because of the interior designed wholly by Tiffany Studios of New York City, as well as its famed Hook and Hastings organ. Again, from a tourism standpoint, Reed Center serves as a national hook to attract visitors, and while here, expanding their visits, as Fred alluded to with the bus tour, to other visitor-related attractions and businesses and their visitor dollars. To enhance this, the Bureau created a Tiffany Trail, offering a self-guided tour of various locations that have a Tiffany window here in Richmond, with the Reed Center, of course, serving as the star attraction. We are also a member of the Indiana Glass Trail that also promotes Tiffany Trail and other things glass-related. The Reed Center serves as a local source of pride for our citizens. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and thanked those involved for their continued stewardship of this building and its reuse as a historic cultural and performing arts venue. Richmond and Reed Center's growth in the last few years, expressly as a historic cultural and performing arts center, is in direct relationship with Richmond's revitalization efforts currently going on downtown. In your packet, you would have received several support letters, one of those being from Earlham College, Dakota Collins. And just a quick excerpt, the work being done at the Reed Center aligns closely with our institution's commitment to community engagement, cultural enrichment, and regional revitalization. The Reed Center serves as both a treasured historic site and a vibrant community asset. Its efforts to offer accessible programming, host arts and cultural events, and foster partnerships across sectors are vital to the continued growth and vitality of our city and our region. These contributions are especially valuable to organizations like Earlham, which rely on strong local ecosystems to support experiential learning, civic engagement, and student involvement. Another letter that is in your packet is from the Wayne County Foundation. And again, just a brief excerpt. The Reed Center future has brightened thanks to the dedication of local volunteers, community support, Indiana Landmarks, and the Whitewater Valley Presbytery. Together, they have formed a unique partnership, breathing new life into this historically significant landmark and developed intentional programming partnerships fundamental to the mission. The requested funding is essential to implement vital safety improvements, ensuring the well-being of all visitors. The Reed Center's architectural significance underscores its status as a landmark worthy of preservation, and these upgrades will protect its legacy for future generations. Reed Center's location provides walkability access directly adjacent to the Star District, only a mere block away from downtown Richmond, 4 blocks away from the Historic Depot District, and directly across from our amazing Wayne County Historical Museum, yet another star in our visitor attraction arsenal. The Reed Center has the express ability to draw visitors from around the nation and disperse them to take in our surrounding businesses and area attractions. Tourism has experienced significant growth in Wayne County. The Tourism Bureau annually participates in a state co-op program measuring participating counties' economic impact through visitor spending. To give you some idea of the growth of Richmond, Wayne County's tourism industry, in 2012, Wayne County's annual economic impact through visitor spending was $84.6 million. Compared to our most recent economic impact through visitor spending report via 2023, visitor spending and its economic impact to our area businesses grew to $171.2 million in a single year, representing a whopping 102% increase from just 11 years ago. In closing, the Tourism Bureau wholeheartedly supports the Reed Center and truly believes its value, its authenticity, its rich history, and cultural and architectural significance is national in scope and offers a tremendous opportunity to draw in visitors and their economic dollars, not just regionally, but from across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Hello, my name's Kevin McCurdy. I'm an architect with LWC. For those of you with enough gray hair, that was Clinton and Associates formerly. So we've been here for a long time in the community. I've had the good fortune of actually, this would be the second full Tiffany chapel that I've had the opportunity to work on. So over at Woodland Cemetery, we've restored one over there as well that's very similar. The pews, the tile floor, the windows, much smaller. It's about 1,800 square feet versus this building. This is also the second church that we've worked on here locally. What I love about this project is this is actually saving one rather than, I would say, decommissioning components of one when we're involved with the St. John's Church. So looking at the images of the organ and thinking through that decommissioning process, anything we can do to save this, we're excited to be a part of. So I probably have the hardest job here to follow all of this excitement. Mine is extremely boring. So the process to save this is really, what can we do basically to do as little as possible at the end of the day. So for a building like this where we're talking about changing the occupancy, it's really going through Chapter 34 is the short term everybody uses, but that's Chapter 34 in the Indiana Building Code, which is the International Building Code. So that what you're looking at is a view of that. What we've done is really distill down Chapter 34 to a spreadsheet because this is as close to architecture by numbers as you can get. So what you are doing is literally going through the Chapter 34, and there's a series of points in there that we're trying to get enough points to get this to pass. So that's really all that this is so that by the time we tally that up and get down to the yellow area, which I know you cannot read on the screen, there is an extremely large red number with where that sits right now to try to convert that from a church to an event center that the community is going to be able to take advantage of in all of the glorious ways that you heard about without changing the architecture. So what we have looked at is really three components that we're trying to get to make this work out. This is looking at the upper floor plan with some colors involved there. What's blue in my plan, but apparently greenish on the screen, are ways out of the building. So those are stairways and corridors that really safely get people out of the building. The purple areas are just fire areas, and that's kind of a magical term in the code for how much of this building is going to potentially, if something were to happen, burn potentially before you get to one of the dashed red lines, which kind of stops the fire from going any further. So the smaller we can make those zones within a building as we're looking at this conversion, the more our point totals go up so we can get to a better place to get this to pass at the end of the day. So we're looking at ways to shrink those zones as kind of strategy number one, create the hard lines of the dashed lines being barriers where fire can't go from one space to another. And then on top of that, looking at fire alarms and sprinklers to let people know that there's a fire and to get people safely out of the building. At the end of the day, that's really all we're doing, and that's what the dollars are going to go to. So if I go to the first floor, this is those beautiful images that they showed. The bigger purple area is that. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot we have to do. I mean, that zone is what it is. The green areas exist the way that they are today. The things that we're looking at to really protect the architecture in that place, and I would say the holistic architecture of even the doors, the hardware, and not have to do replacement of any of that, is really getting into really simple things like closers. There's some various clear coatings, they're intumescent, is the term for them, where if they burn, they char and can't burn on through things. But what it allows us to do is preserve all of that architecture you were seeing. The other thing that we're trying to get away from, and we know we're going to have to file variances for this, so that's, again, where some of the dollars are going to go to. We've already reached out to some consultants in Indianapolis to help get this all through, is really avoid sprinklers upstairs, because we really don't want to get into impacting all of that beautiful architecture that you saw, but looking at actually creating all of those zones and the sprinkler protection down on that lower level. That way, if anything were to ever happen at the lower level, which is the image on the screen now, it really couldn't transmit up above and vice versa with all of the alarms, et cetera, that are going to be added in. So again, what you're seeing on this floor are zones where events can happen. The exits out of this, the kind of other color that's the peach color that's there, that is where Indiana Landmarks is occupying that today. So because that's a separate use, it needs its own special space that gets created. But at the end of the day, that's where we're getting to, so that we go back through this and just make sure we get a high enough score that we are either positive or zero, so that we're not in the large negative territory we were before. So again, a fairly simple process, but that is where the dollars that are being requested will be going to. And we've worked with other local vendors, including our local sprinkler contractors, ProTech, et cetera, to kind of work through the numbers. So a lot of this, I apparently wasn't smart enough to go after a grant to fund. We've just kind of helped move this thing along to get those dollars figured out, but worked with local vendors so that the numbers we're looking at have been vetted by those local contractors to help kind of bring this to fruition, we believe. So that is it. I appreciate your time, and with that,
Evan, can you talk about the clear coating a little more?
I would love to talk about the clear coating a little more. So this is a product that has tested UL testing for it. You can either get it as a paint with pigmentation or, again, a clear coating, so it's kind of like a lacquer that goes on. But effectively what it does is it chars and actually expands a little bit when heat hits it, so then it protects it from burning really what's beyond that. So we actually had some of this when we did the new entry to the Dayton International Airport. We did all the canopies, et cetera, that went on there. We actually coated all their columns with that. So we got some product, and we thought, well, we're going to play with this. So, of course, we got the torches out to see what you could do, and you could put your hand on the other side of it and really not feel anything. It's almost magical, frankly, and how it works. So
what surfaces would it go on?
A lot of surfaces, because the problem you get into is you can't verify some of this without destructive testing. So some of it we know, these are masonry walls. So by default, those are like 3-hour walls, and we're not worried about those. It's going to be more of the floor assemblies, because at the end of the day, that's all wood. I mean, other than the plaster on the bottom side maybe, so it's really not protected from above. So we're going to be looking at kind of that layer of protection from floor to floor, first to second floor. But then the dashed lines we were looking at between walls. But again, a lot of this, and now I am going to use the pointer. I can't make it hit the screen, darn it. But the small purple zone to large purple zone, where that dashed line is, for instance, we know those are masonry walls from the previous work we've done in there for the Indiana Landmarks coming into this space. But there are a couple of other zones wherever, like from the kitchen, for those that are familiar down there, to the other larger gathering space, that's just a framed wall, so that would have to get treated. So we're going to be very strategic in what we do with the information we have, but anything that's not a known will need to get treated.
So what
to
about
avoid
like the wood
destructive
pews?
testing. No, just space to space. So
Just-
something
okay.
that's in there that could, burn in that space,
Right.
we're not worried about. We're just worried about moving from one space
space
to
to the
another.
next. Okay.
So it's going to be more walls, ceilings, floors, doors, things
Okay.
like that take you from one space to another, not the pews, the organ, nothing like that would necessarily need to have any.
So does it alter, like, the look of the, I mean, like, would it change, like, the patina or the matte finish or the,
You won't know the difference. Having done this before on other projects, you really can't tell the difference, a lot of it, and there will be testing to make sure this happens with samples. to do just what you said, to kind of test it in an inconspicuous space or another piece of material before it gets applied. But it's like any paint or any clear coat you get, do you want a satin? Do you want a gloss? Do you want a semi-gloss? What is it to get it right, and how do you apply it to make it effectively go away visually will be the process that we have to go through with the contractors that are applying this material. No problem.
So what's the bottom line expense to do all of this?
I don't know if you want me to answer that, or if you want to answer that.
Either way.
So we've estimated, to be fair, high, and put contingencies of about 10 to 20% on this. It's about 1.2 million. And again, a lot of that is just getting absorbed by, frankly, sprinklers, fire protection. We're going to have to bring a new water line into the building to serve this, in addition to then treating the walls the way we've talked about. So, and again, the contingency is based on, it's an old building. We're going to run into a lot of things that we just don't know until they start doing stuff. But that is an all-in cost for everything that we think it's going to take to get this over the line.
So we're talking strictly fire and safety at this point?
Correct.
We're not talking elevators or anything else?
I wish we were talking about that, just so it could be a more
HVAC
complete.
or anything?
We have looked at that as kind of an additional phase, but no, the reality is just getting that to the point that it could be turned over from the presbytery to Reed Center officially and become no longer a church, because currently, even though it's functioning in this capacity, it is still effectively a church for all intents and purposes as it relates to code and everything else, so.
Yeah, and I want to address that. I don't know if it comes from you or if it wants to come from Ann, but I think the question is, why are we talking about this now? And it sounds like there's a change that's down the road that's going to require this. So, one of you
And I
want to
will
address
say
it?
before Ann gets up here, we did kind of play, I'll just say, the line, I guess, even when we went through the Indiana landmarks coming into this space. We really had to submit this and go through the presbytery to have them submit that project to even get that work done for permitting purposes. So in addition to the reality of we got to go through the change for it to be the Reed Center and an event space for the public, I think it's just posing a lot of challenges in its current condition where ownership is not with this group effectively to do things going forward.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
That was kind of the last piece that I wanted to address. And as I wrap up why we need your support, he addressed the funds and the need for the fire safety. We can't take ownership of this building until we get this Chapter 34 complete. Why haven't we done it beforehand? It was money. And we are now in a position where we're comfortable saying we can finance operations. We've got enough of a history that has established some reserve funds. And we have an ongoing capital fundraising campaign that's happening where, as we talk and as we move forward, we will have the funds to exceed what you are being asked for today. But the reason we need to ask you to step in now, not 6 months down the road, is because we've got to get this off the ground with the state and the state accepting what we're going to propose as our changes and getting us to that Chapter 34 approval point. We've got to go through the bid process that you heard about earlier in some of the other projects. We've got to get those going because we would like to do this construction next summer, which summer is our down season. You mentioned air conditioning. And for now, we go on season break for events during that time frame, and we'd like to see this get taken care of in that time frame, and we've got to start now. We have had to wait simply because of financing, and we are at a point now where we can say that we are going to be able to match what you would be giving us and exceed it to get us to the 1.2 when the bills come due for the construction. And so it's without the fire and safety project, we can't own the building outright. When that happens, we will get that building without any additional cost. At the point that that happens, we're going to be able to expand our program to do more things for the young people, more things for the students of Earlham. We can expand our collaboration with the other arts organizations, and we can begin talking about the other renovations that we want to do, which is the air conditioning, the ADA expansion beyond what we've got right now, elevators, and other projects that we've got coming down the road. But we've got to own the building first, and we've got to have Chapter 34 before we can own the building. So it's for all of those reasons, we're hoping that you'll help us preserve our national treasure for our citizens and the visitors of Richmond. Are there any other questions? I know you've had some.
Yeah, if we don't do this, the Presbytery continues to own it,
The Presbytery continues to own it, right?
and they're making no further investment.
Nope.
And
Would they also have would they have the option of then selling it off, either piece by piece or in its entirety?
If somebody else wants to change what I'm about to say, please tell me. In my opinion, they do have that option. We have a memorandum of understanding with the current presbytery. As officers change in the presbytery, we have seen things happen over the last few years that we thought we had other understandings to acquire this or acquire that, and those have changed as the officers change. So we feel it's critical to get this done now while we've got the support of the current board on that group. And that's one of the reasons we're also pushing both our own fundraising and the request here. Yes, please.
Having worked in churches all my life, I know that when a church closes, it's not customary for the denomination to hold on to the property. So what they're doing is treating Reed Center differently, and I think that's the correct decision.
what has been your means of trying to raise funds for this?
For this
To this point,
project,
yes.
we are working on an ongoing fundraising capital campaign project.
So what additional, have you pursued grants?
Oh, yes. We've got 2 grants kind of in limbo at the moment without knowing that they will or will not. We're expecting one of them to come through. We just don't know how soon. That will then add the last bit to the project, but it's been endorsed by Indiana Landmarks, so we're hoping that that will come into play. We also have made some arrangements with Indiana Landmarks for cash flow purposes because, campaigns, people will pledge for multiple years. And so we've got a coverage for that so that even if a pledge comes in a later year, we can have the cash flow to make this happen now.
It's a big ask.
It's a big ask.
Beth, could you talk a little bit about the way our budget is on this type of ask?
Sure. So redevelopment commissions are required to supply a projected budget for the next year to the Department of Local Government Finance each year. The category that this request falls under, we budgeted $250,000 for the year 2025. We have spent $40,000 of that on the Morrison Reeves Library project, which leaves $210,000. So should the commission determine to fund something over and above that amount, we would need to submit a budget addendum to the Department of Local Government Finance for approval.
Thank you.
So we can't we can say we support it in the $500,000 level, but we would not be able to actually write that check until we get approval
Correct.
from the state.
Correct.
I'm going to suggest, this is a big ask. We have budget questions that we need to discuss. We're missing another member of our commission who's not had the opportunity to hear this or to potentially vote on it. And I know we have some other projects coming down the road that we need to look at from our total budget. I'm going to suggest that we table this for another month and let us have an opportunity to look at this a little bit further. It's been a long meeting so far, and there's a lot of information here that I think we need to have some further discussions on.
Could you indulge me with a few questions?
Sure,
Not for you, but.
sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's clear there's a lot of passion for this project, and when you took Karen and I in through there, I was amazed. I didn't realize just the design continuity of the thing was, wow, I'd been in there a bunch of years ago for a funeral, and I didn't take the time to really look around, and then with the elegant presentation that, you know, to really understand what you look at it, okay, there's a window, but there's a lot more to the window. And so I would hate to see something that's that wonderful, the architectural elements. I mean, the whole thing is amazing. But, you know, in thinking about this thing, knowing this meeting was coming up, I can't help but think I would love to see this thing be self-sustaining, that you wouldn't have to come back to us every year for 100,000 or $500,000, whatever, and how critical it would be to be a commercial and marketing success. And I know you had talked about a director or the potential of hiring a director. That's part of the plan, which I think would be absolutely critical. I mean, are there people like that out there that can take a jewel and make it commercially successful all by itself without having to, I mean, obviously fundraising and all that stuff would go on, but is there such a person, or is there, I don't know. I would hate to just see this thing be a money drain, you know, where you keep feeding it and it just, you know, and it's, help me think about that, because I want to support this project and I think it's great and I would hate to see us lose it, but I would also like to see it be self-sustaining and be on its own.
This particular project is the biggest piece of all of the projects that we feel we have to accomplish down the road. And from a board and an executive committee standpoint, what we tried to do was break them down into projects. Our intent is not to have to come back to ask again for completion of the other projects. We have things in place that we believe will facilitate and let those pieces happen in the next few years. They're not going to happen tomorrow, and we can exist without them. As far as the executive director or the person that could run this, we absolutely think that is a real possibility. We have had cash reserves ever since I came on the board, and those reserves we have been holding because we knew this project was coming down the road. We've not only covered operating, but from just our events and our regular donations from the community and a few local grants, we exceed our operating expenses. When the time is right to bring in the right executive director, we feel it's critical that to go on, we have to have that. Like all the other nonprofits that succeed year after year after year, you've got to have someone dedicating most of their time to running this organization, and those are part of our plans as well, and so that will happen. Mike, I have no doubt in my mind that we don't have to keep coming back to the well for this project. As times change, we've watched our events change. As we think, you know, we need to address the younger population as well, and we're working with Earlham now and in the future to do that. Working with IU East, we have addressed that. We've addressed diversity and bringing in the amigos you mentioned earlier, and having an event with them that brings in their community. We've addressed different sectors of our community. We offer the free events as well as ticketed events, and those help fund our operations and yet address art and cultural and music events that other organizations are charging for. We do have the luxury to have some free events that address a population that doesn't go to the other organizations and does not have the ability to pay for the events that others are doing. So we feel like we are the entity that can make that all happen and sustain and operate. Anybody? Lynn, do you want to address his idea of possibly a director. You mentioned something about I asked her just yesterday, finding an executive director to move us down the road, is that actually, are there people out there? And what did you say?
Arts management is a profession that people go and get their degrees in. And I was the director of events and operations at Owen College for 30 years. So I'm familiar with, we are my age group, not retired out. So this was a new position 30-some years ago. So you have a slew of young people coming out of graduate school with arts management degrees that are looking for a place to start, that they're eager to get something going. And so I believe that the Reed Center is in a perfect position right now, if we can get this going, the fire and safety taken care of, that's an organization and a commitment to this community that they could fulfill and be at the helm and be the face for the Reed Center organization. So I definitely believe that there are people out there that are looking for jobs and looking to settle in this area because the cost of living is good. There's so much to offer in this community. The relationship with Furlong, when I worked there, I had 30 to 40 work study students working for me every year, and they didn't come downtown. They would go around. They wouldn't come downtown. So everything that you all have approved to make changes to show that there's life and vitality in this community is something that they're looking at. I remember taking the Women's Fun Luncheon, we went to the philanthropic luncheon for organizations that support women in our community. I would take women from Merlin College to those luncheons, and they had no idea that there were professional, successful women in this community because they didn't get into the community. They just heard that they're poor, that they're pregnant, and that's all that we really had in this community. So there's everything that you do that is adding to is making it so that Berlin students, young people want to come to this community, which would include a director for the Reed Center.
Thank you. Answer your question, Mike?
It does.
Do you have additional questions?
A couple.
Sure.
I know you're looking at.
No, I'm not. This is too
I
important.
can't remember, and I can't remember if we asked, does Landmarks pay rent?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was what you had said, because I think I'd asked you that question before. And then the fact that it's still a church, when that ownership switches over, will that impact the insurance rates? Because it's, even though it's a not-for-profit, I suppose, will you guys have to pay more insurance, life, and all that kind of stuff?
All I can say is we hope not. Right now, we are reimbursing the presbytery for our insurance.
So it's not like a triple net lease or anything
No,
like that?
no.
Okay.
They are still maintaining the insurance, and we're paying them for it.
Okay.
So unless, Dick, do you know anything that I don't know? We really don't think those costs will go up. Insurance costs go up?
When we tested the market about 4 years ago, we could insure the building more cheap than locally and through the presbytery.
No, great, okay.
It was close, but definitely a little.
I didn't know with that status change, if that would have a significant impact on just your
So it might be
overhead.
good.
Yeah, and that sounds like that's a possibility. I have all other scratched notes here, but I think I'm satisfied.
I want to thank everyone who put this presentation together and all of the work that you've done. And we are all very supportive of the Reed Center in this community and recognize it as the unique jewel that it is. I think we just need a little more time to absorb everything that we heard today. And we'd like to come back and address this at our next meeting.
Kathy?
Is this something we could have, so we can give them an answer, a firm answer in 30 days? Will we have an answer from them as far as that request?
I cannot guarantee how quickly that response will come.
Feel or any,
I would think 30 to 60 days.
okay.
Is that because of the state?
Okay.
Thank you all.
No, thank you. Thank you for all your work and your dedication and your commitment to keeping this wonderful building in our community and in the wonderful condition that it's in. Thank you. Okay, long meeting. I think we just have maybe one more item to discuss as a point of business. Beth, you wanted to talk about an executive session.
Yes, so if we could go ahead and calendar an executive session meeting, I will get that advertised for us appropriately so that we can meet. So if we could look in October, our next meeting is October 21st. So if we could meet at some point, either the week of the 6th or the week of the 13th.
Throw a day out there and see what works. We have a busy calendar, so.
What about October the 7th? It's a Tuesday. We could meet at our standing 1:30 time.
I have a dentist appointment then.
All right.
Don't even try to switch it.
I know.
I'm open that entire day, so.
I'm open in the morning.
Yeah. we could do the morning.
Let's see. I have a 9:30 and an 11 in the morning.
I have a 10, or no, I'm sorry, I have a 10:30. The afternoon would be good for me, but that's obviously.
How about the 8th, Wednesday?
That would work.
Sure.
That's open for me as well.
I am available, like, from 12 to 4. Anywhere in there.
At 1:30?
1:30. 1:30 on the 8th?
October 8th at 1:30.
And how will you advertise this?
That will be advertised in the Palladium item
So that's the 8th at 1:30.
at 1:30.
Is that going to be in here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
In those meetings, just so we can just reinforce, it's just open for this commission. It's not a public meeting. Okay. Do we have any other business to come before the commission today?
No.
Hearing no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.